I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and part 2 of a dogfight battle between the Optimus G and the DROID RAZR HD starts in just a second, but first, special thanks to our valued partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like these for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game, which we give to you for free on the site at instantwin.phonedog.com. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile to get either of these devices, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your contacts, your settings, cameras, and more, so you can maximize that quad-core processor and maximize that big battery on the DROID RAZR HD at Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look. Optimus G, RAZR HD, which one is it? Which one's going to go home with the gold? We'll find out starting right now. Start out part 2 of this dogfight between the LG Optimus G and the Motorola DROID RAZR HD by taking a look at the browsing capability. So first of all, you know what, we'll load it up in the stock browser first of all, the one that comes on the actual LG Optimus G. I'm a big fan of Chrome, and you'll see it over here out of the gate because of Google's acquisition of Motorola. There's no stock browser, or at least I assume that's what it is. There's no stock Motorola browser anymore. Chrome is what comes out of the gate, and you can see both of these 4G LTE networks working relatively quickly all around. So you can see a written review here by Taylor, for example. Pinch to zoom, incredibly responsive over here. Freakishly fast thanks to that quad-core processor. All around a very impressive device here with little to no lag. And of course I can change my tabs if I want to. I can add tabs, I can bookmark, and more. All at the speed of light, quite frankly. Very, very fast over here. Pinch to zoom, very responsive over on this device as well. And then of course I can click here and access new tabs by clicking right there. And I absolutely love Chrome. It's very functional, and I love little transition effects and little things like that. The way that the actual screens work. Very impressive all around. And then of course Phone Dog here. And portrait to landscape transition, nice and fast with little to no lag over here. That said, I do notice a little bit of lag in comparison, of course, to the Optimus G. So if that's something that bothers you and you're looking at these two devices, take a closer look at the Optimus G. Not to spoil the ending of the dogfight, but I'm telling you, if you want power, you want raw processing power, this is going to be your device. If you want better network performance, the DROID RAZR HD is going to be your device because the wireless radio on this device is absolutely fantastic. Now that said, let's take a look at quadrant standard on both of these devices before we jump in to 4G LTE head-to-head tests on both. So we'll run the full benchmark here and take a look, and we will not run it here because it says it's stopped. Let's try that one more time. Not smart actions. Let's go into quadrant standard and run it over here as well. So you can see 4G LTE on both of these devices, and I've been relatively impressed with both those speeds, which we'll talk about in just a second when we run the speed tests, and then of course network things as well. Connectivity's been great on both. I've tested both of these in their respective dead zones. I will give the edge in terms of overall call quality and earpiece volume to Motorola. They do a fantastic job there. This is no different. Very impressed over here with the way this device works when it comes to working on the network. Not bad over here by any means. But you can see, and actually I don't know why it's getting so dark. Let's get those brightened up again. Very impressive over here as well. Nothing bad by any means. The earpiece is nice and loud, but when it comes to fringe areas and dealing with an area with 0 or 1 bars of surface, I often found that the DROID RAZR HD did a phenomenal job over there. So again, network performance, fantastic on the RAZR HD. That said, quadrant standard, this thing wipes the floor with the DROID RAZR HD. 7,482 on this device in quadrant standard. Still running over here. Obviously, we started this one a little bit late, but 7,482, incredibly fast on the Optimus G. And then over on the RAZR HD, 5,026 over here. So you can see a definite speed difference. And obviously take it with a grain of salt. It's not always indicative of day-to-day performance. For example, I think you'll find that in browsing through the home screens, for example, or checking email, you're not going to see a huge speed difference by any means with either one of these devices. That said, when it gets into gaming, when it gets into some advanced tasks on your device that are kind of graphics heavy, I think you'll find this one to be a much more functional device overall. Let's take a look at speed test as well. Verizon 4G LTE, AT&T 4G LTE as well. Both of these devices will load up speed test, and we'll get these on similar servers. Shelby, and let's see what we can get it over at Nashville. Let's see if we can find Shelby over here as well, so we can do kind of an equal comparison. But it looks like it might not come up, so we'll just take a generalized look. I am not seeing Shelby over here. We'll just run this one and do a generalized look. 4G LTE capabilities on both. Verizon's is obviously the more mature 4G LTE network. Over 400 LTE markets here. AT&T still rolling out, and rolling out relatively quickly. That said, I've been pretty impressed overall with both. AT&T's is not performing well right now in this particular speed test. Verizon actually quotes conservative speeds. They'll say you get between 5 and 12 megabits per second on the download and 2 to 5 megabits per second on the upload. That said, I'm oftentimes seeing faster download speeds, even in a rush hour time like this. 11 megabits per second over here, 10 megabits per second on the upload. Over here, not performing as well as I'd like it to. It's got 2 megabits per second, or just over 2 on 4G LTE, and 0.91 megabits per second over there. Not impressive by any stretch of the imagination, and granted, it could be the particular server, but I think I reset this since I last did the speed test. But you can see, yeah, for example here, 26 megabits per second, 18, 22, 15. I've seen some fast 4G LTE speeds on this device. So not to say it's bad by any means. Network's just not performing particularly well at this point in time. So keep that in mind. LTE nice and fast on both of these devices, but I think for a lot of people, LTE is to the point where it is a deciding factor in a lot of people's phone purchases, myself included. So I think you're going to have to decide, you know what, if I don't have LTE on AT&T, I do have it on Verizon, is it worth taking the slower device, or should I go with this device overall that's just incredibly fast when it comes to processing power, but I only have HSPA+. I think that's going to be a decision you'll have to make if you're debating between two devices like this. Now again, 8 megapixel cameras on both of these devices. We'll take a look here. Bam. And we'll load up this one. 1080p HD video recording on both. And I'll bring them over here so you can take a look side by side. And I do have some test pictures on both of these devices just so you can see. But again, pinch to zoom, incredibly responsive over here thanks to the quad-core processor. And I took a few pictures of Samsung's Galaxy Rugby Pro when I was doing the review yesterday, and of course you'll see the capacitive buttons, or excuse me, the on-screen buttons go away, though I will say you don't get that screen real estate back. For example, they're just kind of sitting right here with white dots. So you can see they automatically come back when I go into gallery. So it's not like you're adding screen real estate, you just get those to disappear while you're pinching and zooming in and out. So that is that's something to keep in mind if that's something that bothers you, you want the added screen real estate. You do see it go away in YouTube videos though, and we'll show you, actually I'll show you that in just a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. But let's take a picture here of, oh, let's say the iPhone 5, which I hate to do kind of black and gray on black, but bring it in here, take a quick look at the Apple logo, for example. Let's see how well we can get this fingerprint. And there are some cool features on the LG camera as well. Motorola is kind of stuck to the same formula for years. The camera is decent. It's not my favorite on the market by any means. I would definitely give this a wash when it comes to camera. Overall usefulness of the camera. Both are great, but don't get me wrong, you'll do just fine with 8 megapixel cameras. I like the features on this one a little bit better though, where I can take a photo and say, smile. And then of course I took a time shot, or time-lapse kind of photo, burst mode if you will, so I could see all the different shots that I took. And I can come back here and say, smile. And you can see I moved around a little bit, got that feature. And you have this over here as well. I'll go down here and take a look. I've got my effects, got some camera settings, I've got some scenes. Then I have this with multi-shot and panorama and HDR, so I can kind of do the same thing over here. Although I don't really care for the implementation of it, where it does it so quickly like that. I like to be able to kind of control that on my own and give my own hand the ability to do that. But you can see here, still transitioning it around. Still a little bit blurry in comparison to others on the market, but pinch to zoom overall is relatively responsive. Take a look at camera both in the store, but that said, slight edge to the Optimus G for features overall and image quality. So overall, both of these are great devices. It's going to depend on what matters most to you, and you can see stock Android implementation or a near stock Android implementation, for example, in the contacts. You can see the light blue color scheme. You can see the fact that this looks almost identical from the notifications bar over to this. Almost identical to stock Google here, stock ice cream sandwich. You got your cancel and your save button, your contact. Then over here you see a little bit more of a skinned experience. You see Bill Stevenson, for example, kind of the same look and feel. You got a gray bar up here, and you got the ability to edit, but take a look at how different these both look in editing as opposed to what you would see from a stock Android interface. This is much more stock over here than this is, both in color hues and then in overall fields that you would see on the device. So if stock Android is more important to you, the RAZR HD is going to be great. The battery life on this is phenomenal. I get quite a bit of battery life. I'd say with my testing, I've gotten between, I'd say 14 and 15 hours with moderate use. Over here, a little bit less battery life, though I will say the standby time is quite good on this device. Two benefits for this device: the standby time is good and it charges incredibly fast. This one charges at a pretty moderate pace, but I find that the battery life lasts a little bit longer over here. This one was lasting me about 12 to 13 hours with moderate use. Again, moderate use is subjective. Take a look at both of these. Take advantage of the return policies and see if the battery is good enough for you. But that said, 4G LTE does drain the 2,100 milliamp hour battery over here, but it's faster to charge and the standby time is phenomenal over here, whereas over here standby time It's about the equivalent to other devices on the market, nothing amazing by any means, but I've kept this in my briefcase for like a weekend and had it drop 15% as opposed to another device dropping, or 10 or 15 I should say, as opposed to another device dropping pretty dramatically. Actually, if I remember right, the exact number was 8% from Friday to Monday on this device. So pretty impressive over there on both of those. So that said, the dogfight, a winner has to be declared because it is a dogfight battle. The winner overall is the LG Optimus G. The reason why, it's incredibly fast. LG still has quite a bit of work to do when it comes to the overall user interface. That said, it's a definite improvement from other LG devices, and given the fact that these are the same price point, I'd strongly recommend both of them first of all, but then if you're looking for a fast processor device, the Optimus G, and if you're looking for a device that has a great wireless radio and pretty good battery life as well, for it being the non-max version, take a look at this device. It's available at Verizon for $200. But overall winner for specs and all that good stuff, the Optimus G. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage of both of these devices. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Like our page. Enter our greatest tech giveaway ever too. We're always giving away some awesome smartphones. Be sure to check that out. And of course, be sure to follow me on Twitter as well. PhoneDog_Aaron. Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching. Keep it locked on the site for more coverage of these devices and more as we go into this wild holiday season where it's phones, and more phones. Just a ton of phones everywhere, all around. I've got my Galaxy Note 2 somewhere over here, but you can see notes and phones, tablets, phablets, smartphones everywhere. So keep it locked on the site for continuing coverage, and as always, we'll see you next time.